Hope everyone is doing well. We are going to go ahead and talk about the next couple weeks worth of assignments. So if you remember from last time, I had you guys research 3 to 4 jobs that you were interested in. We're going to kind of build on that this week. So what I want you to do is I want you to pick one of those jobs that you researched last week, and you're going to use that to create a monthly budget with all of your expenses. And we want to see how easy it is for you to make it on whatever salary you chose. Okay, and I also want you to just kind of get a realistic view of how much life actually costs, because I know when I was in high school, I thought that, everything will be super easy when I get out of high school, and, $1,200 a month is a whole lot of money. Once you're actually paying the bills, you realize that is actually not very much money. So you are going to create an actual spreadsheet. I want this to be as realistic as possible. So you're going to research the area that you intend to live in. So if you plan on moving to Tulsa, don't research Caney prices because it's not going to give you accurate data, okay? If you plan on staying in Caney, obviously look there. If you plan on moving out of state, look wherever you're going to actually try to live. All right, so there are some expenses that are going to be required month to month. These are expenses that you cannot live without, okay? So for basic survival, these are necessary. So the first one is food. Obviously, you have to have a food budget. In your food budget, I also want you to include anything like eating out. If you plan on eating out once a week or twice a month or whatever, make sure that you include that, because that's a good way that people end up overspending their budgets, is that they budget for buying groceries and then they don't actually use that. They use eating out, which is quite a bit more expensive. Okay, you're also going to budget for groceries. Now, I did define those a little bit differently because food is just food items. Groceries includes everything that you need to run a household. So dishwashing soap, laundry detergent, toilet paper, all of the little things, soap, shampoo, conditioner, all of that stuff that you use on a day-to-day basis you have to have, that's going to be a separate category as well. Okay, then you're going to have housing. So you're either going to be renting an apartment, house, etc., or you will be buying. Okay, now, unless you happen to have, $30,000 sitting in a bank account somewhere, which if you do, congrats, good for you. But unless you happen to have that much sitting in the bank account, you're probably going to take out a mortgage to finance your household. Okay, so you'll either include your rent payment or your mortgage. All right, then you're going to have your transportation. If you don't have a car and you plan on transporting yourself in another method, you need to make sure to include that in a budget. So for example, if I live in New York City and I don't want to have to buy my own car, but I plan on taking public transportation, I need to include that in my budget. Transportation also goes into things like, if I do have a car, I need to make sure to budget for oil changes. I need to make sure to budget so that I can buy new tires once a year. All of the costs that are associated with having a vehicle or transporting yourself to and from work or to and from the grocery store, etc., that needs to be included in that category. Then you have your utilities. Now, sometimes if you're renting an apartment, this is included in the rent, but make sure to note that when you document all of this later, whether it's included or not. Okay, now, utilities are not as traditional as they used to be, so I'm going to include in the utilities category your gas, electric, cable and or internet, and then your telephone or cell phone. I know most people don't have a landline now, but your cell phone payment I'm going to consider a utility. Okay, and then you're going to have your insurance payment. For those of you who have cars, you know that you're required to carry vehicle insurance on your car. And then if you're renting, you will want a renter's insurance. And then if you have a house, generally that's included in your mortgage until it's paid off. All right, so you're going to research and find average costs for utilities. Do not just make up the numbers. Don't just put $400 down and call it a day. You need to actually look in your area or the area that you intend to move to and see how much they are as best you can. Okay, now I realize that you're probably not going to get 100% on the dot how much they're going to be. That's okay, but just make sure that you're actually using real data. So you can ask your parents, ask a friend that lives in the area, something like that, so that you know how much utilities actually are. Okay, you do need to put references down. So if I ask my mom how much it costs every month for electricity, when I fill out the worksheet, I need to make sure to include that. Okay, now I'm also going to include a list of possible expenses. These are expenses that you may or may not have to pay, or you may or may not choose to pay. All right, so first one is car payment. If you have a loan on your vehicle, you will need to make a car payment, and you need to budget for that each month. Subscriptions. So if you have Netflix, Pandora Radio, gym membership, anything else that you pay on a monthly or yearly basis, those you need to make sure to budget for. Okay, you need to budget for savings. This is technically an option, but it is highly recommended. You should always have an emergency savings account for any incidentals that happen in life, because one thing I know is that as you get out on your own, there will always be something unexpected that comes up. So even if you can only afford to put a little bit in every month, it's better than nothing, so go ahead and make sure to budget for that. Childcare. If you plan on having kids, this wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and start budgeting for that. Clothing is another category, optional on how you want to do it. If you want to put it in with your groceries category, that's fine. If you want a separate one, that's fine too. If you're the type that has to have a new outfit every month, make sure that you budget for that. Car maintenance, you need to budget for that. And then miscellaneous. For example, I have money set aside every month specifically for random events, so birthdays, baby showers, wedding showers, all of that kind of stuff. I have a special amount set aside every month so that I can take care of odds and ends that I didn't foresee having to begin with. Okay, entertainment is another one. If you go out on a regular basis, so you go bowling, you go to the movies, you go to concerts, any activity that costs money, you'll want to make sure to include that on your spreadsheet. Okay, and then if there's any other expenses that you know that you pay on a regular basis that I did not include here, you can go ahead and include those as well. Because again, what I want you guys to see is how much life actually costs. So I would use a Google spreadsheet for this assignment, and then type up your references and turn those in. This will all be due on Friday, May 1st, so you have a couple weeks to get this done to make sure that you can sufficiently research all of the information that you need. At the bottom of your spreadsheet where you have your monthly budget, I do want the total of that month, and then also what job you chose and how much that pays, and see if that falls within your monthly budget. If you have any questions, give me a call, email, or text.